So.
I think it's important, so there is a lead judge, and when the kids come into the room, you give them a minute to set up, and they can turn on the technical, whatever, if they're showing a PowerPoint or whatever, and then Dave always gives us an emergency number to call.
Yes.
If there's a glitch.
Do we still have that?
9 times out of 10, you can get it going before the presentation
Yeah.
starts.
Yeah, you need to make them feel at ease when that happens. Imagine if it happened to you in a big moment in your job that you have this happen. We get to the conclusion, I already mentioned that, but I think that what matters to me is the sincerity that I feel, not just in the tone of voice, but in the words they choose to describe what it's meant to them. It's a very easy thing to say, the senior project has meant a lot to me and I'm so glad I did it. It'll help me out in my life. You get that, you know what that is. That's a 6 or a 7. They said it, but it's generic. It could be a conclusion for almost anything, right? You're hoping for something that's a little bit original, something that gives you the flavor, the taste, the feel, the sense of, the real sense of accomplishment, not just say, empty words. We're not looking for that. And most of them will be sincere, so I don't think you'll have too much of a problem. Anything else? Oh, no, yes, anything else? Language. Oh, here we go. Oh, boy. Okay. You are looking at what could be called a grammar Nazi. I can't help it. That's how I was brought up. It was my time, my generation, my parents, my family. I'll blame them all, everyone who corrected me every time I opened my mouth. But language evolves, much like fashion.
This is hard for you.
Reward them for what they do well. And I can very comfortably say that there isn't anybody that I know who has a perfect command of the English language. I'm going to doubt that person exists. I am. And grammar has not been taught in the public schools since I started, I'd say, when I started teaching, it was early 60s, and we were doing grammar. But it kind of faded by the end of that decade. And it hasn't been taught formally in any district I've been in. This is my 5th. We teach it incidentally. Everybody seems to be making the mistake. We correct it, we bring it up after we grade a set of essays, and we talk about it. All around them, they are seeing mistakes. They see it, you can see it in the newspaper, you know that. They hear them on TV. They hear them in their everyday lives. We are fighting the battle, Sisyphus pushing the rock. It is constantly a battle to fight what they're hearing and seeing all the time. I'm happy to report, though, I don't know if was anybody here last year? Do you remember I got off on Wegmans there briefly? Yes.
Kate Cahill got it fixed for you, right?
You got to tell me later. What a wonderful person. Okay. I don't want to take too long on this, but I will make a shortened version of this story. I was urging the judges not to be too hard. Notice it, fine, make a distinction on the scoring sheet, but don't expect a whole lot because of the saturation of errors in spoken English as well as written English. And I cited as an example Wegmans' refusal 3 years ago to change the sign. They had made new signs. Back when I first came back to Rochester from California in the early 80s, I went into Wegmans and I saw this chair will accommodate, this aisle will accommodate wheelchairs, and they had misspelled accommodate. I also saw 7 items or less, and I was like, my shoulder just went ajar. And I wrote a little note. I'm not a note writer, but I saw a box at the entrance. I thought they'll never pay any attention, but I'm going to write it anyway. And I said, would you please, because we fight this kind of thing all the time. That should be fewer not less, and accommodate has 2 M's. And I said thank you, and I expected nothing to happen, of course. And then just a few months later, whoa, accommodate was spelled right, and all the signs were done. Now, I don't say that I take credit for that, because there are probably other people out there who were just, wrote notes too. But I thought, what a class act. I was so impressed. And then we flash forward to 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm in the Wegmans again, Holt Road. Somebody's made new signs. Somebody who doesn't know the language real well, who decided it was wrong, because that's not how they do it and spell it and say it. So they had gotten back to 7 items or less. So I asked to see the manager. I got the assistant manager, and they're always very charming and nice, and he was. And he said, oh, okay, well, I will pass this on. Thank you very much. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And, I waited. Nothing. Spoke to another manager, waited. And then I was standing at the register one day, and the one manager I talked to had been really nice, was standing just about 8 feet from me, and I'm waiting to check out, and I look up, and I go, kind of like trying to be friendly, but, his face went cold, stone. We will not be changing that sign. That'll cost Wegmans $600 to change the signs. I didn't say this to him, but I'm thinking, well, you'll be losing about that much for me every month as I boycott this store, so it won't really pay, will it? But I didn't say that, because that would have been obnoxious and rude, but I was thinking it. And so I had a partial boycott, I have to admit. I stopped there. It's on my way home. I'm not going to go 6 miles out of my way for this principle. But I'm going to tell everybody about it. And I found out, my friends went out and they took pictures of these signs in other Wegmans as far as Niagara Falls. Said they all have it right. I said, I'll tell you who's got it right. Pittsford's got it right. I know. I grew up there. I taught there. And let me tell you something. They would never stand for that in Pittsford. I know that. And I drove out to Pittsford Wegmans, and of course it was right. And I put this in an email to Wegmans, and I never got a response. Never. And then last year, while I was venting and ranting about this, trying to show you what the kids are seeing, this lovely person came up to me afterwards. She says, I think you'll have your problem solved about the signs. And I thought, well, that's very sweet and very nice, but they did. Mm-hmm. That was just wonderful. So I want to tell you now, Wegmans is back to being classy again. Okay, and I even have a sign in my room that another Wegmans gave me because I insisted they take the apostrophe out between pizza and they had pizza apostrophe S in the frozen food section. So I, asked them about it for a few months at different Wegmans, and they were like, oh, yes, 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 yes. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. So finally I'd had it. One day I walked up and I said, I know this isn't going to matter to you because I'm just one customer, but I'm an English teacher, and I have asked very nicely for a long time now for you to either get rid of that apostrophe or get rid of that S. Hasn't happened. I'm leaving. I won't be back. I know it doesn't matter. I just wanted to tell you, thanks for listening. And I went to the register. I'm standing at the register. The guy, the manager's over there, new manager. And all of a sudden, he disappears from view, and I hear thunk. And there in my card is the sign. I have it in my classroom. Yes, I do. And that was classy, and I complimented them, and I also sent that on to Wegmans. And I think when any company supports this kind of thing, it matters. It really does. Okay, so I'm proud to tell you that we now have this wonderful experience wrapped up, I hope.
It's a sign at Holt Road too?
No, it was not. It was Culver Road. Okay?
I complained to the Holt Road one time because they had a sign for the boys' softball teams. Girls softball, men's softball. I could hardly stand to walk over, get there as quick as I could. They never changed it.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so you understand how we got to work with language here. You notice the errors. If it's egregious, you're going to mark down accordingly. If you refuse to give a 10 until you hear an error-free speech, you'll be giving no 10s. And I think that's too harsh. Okay? Because if I listen to you long enough, I bet I could hear an error. You know what I mean? And you can hear one in me. No question. All right? Okay, so now we're going to move into delivery.
You said that was the short version?
That was,
story?
yeah, I know. Can't get me going on that grammar stuff, I'll tell you. You're right. Okay, watch me rip through this really fast. Thanks, Dave. Eye contact is a challenge for a lot of the kids. That's something that generally comes with great comfort, great confidence, and a lot of practice. Especially if it's meaningful, if it's really lingering, I mean, you really look at the person, you know, long enough so that there's actually a connection. And so lots of times what you will see is just a darting, because they know they're supposed to have it. It's perfunctory, it's dutiful, but it's not genuine. There's no real contact, actually, okay? So again, be gentle, but be honest. The voice. It's been my experience, and I'm going to generalize now, we know what that means. It's been my experience that girls whisper and boys mutter. Got the little voices on the girls until they're out in the hall. They have their fakey little classroom voices on. The boys don't do fake voices, but they do tend to mumble and kind of rush at the end of a line. Again, this is high school. If you can hear them, the volume is sufficient. Okay? The enunciation, if they're going too fast, that takes a hit. And that was a rate. So you're gonna hear some samples tonight. You're gonna hear people that are getting decent scores that still have some of these issues. I think it would be wonderful to use effective pauses. Don't look for it. There's, you know, that's a high degree of polish to work with effective pauses. All right, we'd like to see that. That's kind of one of those things that maybe if we had an 11, we'd give it an 11 if they use it. So don't expect it, but if it's there, that's wonderful. They can all be sincere. That shouldn't be a hard one. When we get down to appearance, like grammar, like fashion, is generational. We tell the kids to dress to honor the occasion. The judges are giving of their time, and when people give of their time, as Wayne Newton was fond of saying, they're giving a piece of their life to you that you can't give back to them. And therefore, it's incumbent upon you to dress nicely and not look as if you're about ready to mow the lawn. So they shouldn't be coming in ratty jeans and hoodies and t-shirts and no. You let them know by the way you score. That is something they can do. They don't have to come in a suit. They don't have to look as professional as you might look or your employees or employers might look. But they should be dressed nicely. And it's up to you to interpret that to some degree, of course. Keeping in mind the fashions change.
Would it be appropriate, like for your tap dancing example, if they had a tap dancing costume or some such thing?
Yes.
That went with the
yeah.
presentation?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Some kids may wear a t-shirt.
Pardon me?
Some kids may wear a t-shirt that has the event.
Yes.
Has a logo on that they
Yes.
created or something like, because that goes along.
Right. Right. It would have to fit the project.